It's been a hot minute since we had one of these, but it is time for another On The Med update. Last time we spoke, we were top of Serie B with Lecce. Did we win it? And if so, how did we get on in Serie A? Let's find out. Hello and welcome back to another On The Med update with me, Dan, aka DeeBoiPlays. And it's gone pretty well with Lecce, dare I say. There's been some ups and downs. We'll get into all of those. But first of all, let's talk about Season 10 with them. As you can see, we absolutely stormed Serie B. Ended up as champions, winning on 95 points. 14 points clear of Sassuolo, who are in second. I believe we broke records for points, most goals scored, most wins in a season. We had an unbelievable time with them, and that was down to, just having a really, really solid foundation of a squad. We've got some great players in, obviously people like Tomo from Tano we've looked at. We had the GOAT, Albert Grombeck. He's been a revelation, and also a couple of new additions, people like Carney Chukwuemeka. He joined us, and he was absolutely fantastic, and we had a really, really good time with them. There were some minor setbacks, though, last year. One of the worst things that happened to us was around the January transfer. They docked our wages by 120,000, which was kind of inevitable, looking at how the finances were going at that point in the save. We're just not making money as a club, and every pound that was coming in, we were just going further and further into the red. And the only way of fixing it was obviously just by selling a bunch of players, which felt very counterproductive to do, because if we'd sold a bunch of people, we would have had no one, and then we would have been knackered. So we wouldn't have been able to, carry on the good form. But we managed to get rid of a few people, sort out some of the finances, and yeah, we were able to, have a pretty successful year. The most notable people that we had to get rid of, you can't quite see it because it's behind my head, but we had to sell Alberto De Sena, we sold Fracassi, Hugo, sorry, getting his name wrong. We sold him for 3.6 million. As you can see him sort of popping up over my head. That was a great sale. As well as a little bit further towards the end of the campaign, we sold Paolo Bernardo for 11.5 million, and that sort of solved the financial problems of last season. And as far as form went, we had a pretty good run towards the end. After that loss to Inter in the Cup, things ended pretty swimmingly. No complaints from me there. And obviously then that led to us joining Serie A, which is where we've just finished the season. It's like I say, it's been a long time since I've done one of these updates, so we've basically done a season and a half, and yeah, we've had a really, really good campaign as far as like a newly promoted team goes. As you can see there, we actually managed to qualify for Europe with Lecce. We'll go through some of the ins and outs that we had at the start of this season, but overall, again, a pretty successful campaign. No massive complaints in terms of how the club got on, because despite a few additional problems that we had this season, we performed very, very well. And again, the same sort of people putting in great performances. Goatback has been fantastic. Tomo from Tano has been putting in some solid performances. Our goalkeeper, my word, has he been putting in some impressive performances. But once again, I'm back on the transfers page, because this year, again, they docked our wages. This time, again, January transfer, they took us down by £217,000, which we're already not on that much as a club. I think we were on 800k at the start of things, and then they took away 217k, which meant the players that we brought in that were helping us perform well. Like you can see on this side, the ins that we had. Obviously, we'd bought some players. We bought in Michael Sjöqvist, which is Skinmaker Sasmas. He's in the game, so that's him. He's been brilliant, by the way. Really, really big fan of this player. We brought him in. Maybe we spent a bit too much money on him, but he's been great. He's not costing us that much week to week. But we'd got a few loans in. John Waller-Hunter from Man City, who had he'd been pretty rubbish, but he looked like a good player, and he was potentially going to be something decent for us. We had to cancel that loan because we couldn't afford to pay his wages. On top of that, who else was there? Tommaso Colantonio. I was really excited about using this guy because he was doing great. You can see in that bottom left-hand corner, 10 goals in 17 appearances for us, was absolutely flying. And then as soon as they did the wage thing, you can see he's on quite a lot of money. I had to just let him go. I don't think we were paying that. I think we were paying half. But still, that's 40k that we could instantly just go, all right, get rid of that. Problem solved. But Yeah, super frustrating because he was an absolutely fantastic forward to have. So I had to get rid of him. And then I believe those are two players that we actually managed to get on loan a little bit later on. We did have to make some additional sales as well. I think the most obvious one that we had here, a Thorback from Caring. A centre-back who was absolutely brilliant for us. Really, really good centre-back for us. But we managed to get a pretty sizable amount for him, 9 million, and then we were able to sort of slide finances around the place and sort of sort out the wage budget so we weren't overspending by too much. But honestly, we'd had, like I say, we'd had 2 years with them, and both of those instances of dropping our wage budget quite significantly. Again, we're not amongst the top sellers. We're definitely bottom half of the wage bracket. But dropping it by that much really, really harmed us in sort of developing a good, solid working team, which it bothered me. It really, really affected me. It sort of made me very unmotivated to want to continue the save, which is, I'm sure, has happened to a lot of people watching this. I'm sure we've all been in those moments where something happens in your game and you just can't be bothered. You just cannot be bothered to sit there and carry on with the game. And I kind of had that a little bit. It's sort of one of the reasons why I've not done an update in a while, because I've sort of, had it on a little bit of a back burner. But we got through the season, we'd finished things off, and this is what we were left with. This is the team that we managed to sort of get over the finish line with. No real goal-scoring talent in there, if I'm being honest with you. Our most goals came from Brian Brobby, aka Pingu X. However, he's definitely on the decline and is nowhere near technically good enough for this level. He got 9 goals and 3 assists in 26 starts, which is really poor from a first-team striker. Next up, I believe, is our loanee, Mateus. We got him in from Dortmund halfway through the season, and the fact after 13 games he's got 6 goals. I feel like if we'd had him the full season, he might have actually got a few more goals for us, but the fact that a loanee has been here for half a season has almost got the same as one of our supposed best players really, really bothered me. But in general, though, the team looked pretty good. Towards the end of things, we did switch things up. We were using our Il Tacho formation. We did actually momentarily jump back into an old favourite of everyone's, which is the hammer. And we were using the hammer for a little bit, and it helped us out a little bit, but I think we'd set the team up for success using Il Tacho, so we went back to that one. And the schedule kind of proves it. I mean, you can see start of things, that was last year. Start of things, it went pretty well. We picked up a loss against Bologna, but that was fine. We had these horrible little runs as well at certain points. Like that little trio there, I was very concerned with. We had a month of drawing against Roma, Torino, and Fiorentina. But then, can you see this? Lazio, Juventus, Inter Milan, AC Milan, Napoli. That's just cruel game. And as you can see, sort of tail end of things, the results just did not go well. We struggled really, really hard to sort of get any momentum, gather like solid form. But as we can see, we did manage to get over the finish line. We managed to finish 7th with them. They've got Conference League football, which is very, very exciting. However, very much in my mindset, I was done with Lecce, mainly because of the 2 big financial, I don't want to call them betrayals, that seemed a little bit dramatic, but they stung. They really, really stung when they turned around and went, cool, well, you're not having the money that we offered you. That was pretty tricky. And then we had the budgets through for this season. 4.85 million and 25k to spend to be competitive in a European competition and Serie A, which it doesn't feel doable. So that's where we find ourselves currently in the On The Med save. We've just finished the season with Lecce, and now in my head, I'm thinking it's probably time to move on. And I can understand why at this point as well. You possibly have these moments in your own saves if you're doing a journeyman. You've just got to a certain point with the team. So for us, in this case, it's Lecce. We've just qualified for Europe, and it would be fun to do that. Europe would definitely help with some of the finances. We'll probably bring in a fair bit of money, especially if we can qualify for the league phase in the Conference League. That'd be amazing. That would be, that's 6 games minimum of some good cash injection, plus the qualifiers. So, it could be a good amount of money for a team like ours, but we've not had the money to help reinforce the team. I've managed in Serie A before in this scenario. Again, I've referenced it before, but we did the Provicelli save last year, and it was kind of the same deal. We had We just weren't getting the finances to help us compete. And again, you look at that top 4, top 5, let's say, they have cash. They can sign world beaters. They can get in those incredible players that will just tear us apart week in, week out. So to compete in the league with those guys seems impossible. Amongst those good teams, obviously Napoli is the big job in Italy for us to get. If we somehow got the Napoli job, that feels like Serie A and the Coppa Italia would be easy to complete. But yeah, it just feels like the energy that we would be putting into trying and doing well with Lecce, maybe if we gave it like 5 years, we'd do well. But let's face it, we've got some pressing matters on this save. We've got to try and also get success at some point in Spain, France and Greece. So we went job hunting. This is the current list of jobs that are available in-game. At the moment, the only ones that are available to us are Hajduk Split and Šibenik, both in Croatia. Now, we've already been to Croatia, so I'm slightly apprehensive about going back to them. I wouldn't say no. I would not say no to going back to Croatia, especially if we got the Hajduk Split job. I feel like they're one of the stronger teams in the league. We could potentially tick off winning the top flight as well as the Super Cup as well. So that would be 3 things in Croatia ticked off. We'd only have to worry about winning the second tier, which, fine, we can do at some point. In terms of insecure jobs, there's nothing really in Turkey, Spain. There's nothing really there. We can't be any of those teams, unfortunately. Anything in Italy, not that I'd want to go to. France, sadly, we can't be any of those. One that's amazing, one would be such a good team if they were just slightly closer to the Mediterranean, would be Lyon. That would be a wonderful team to get, but unfortunately, they're a little bit too far away. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. At the moment, we're just sort of ticking over and hoping something comes up for us that we can, like I say, potentially grab, a slightly better job in. I'm leaning towards Spain or Greece at the moment. Let's have a very quick look at Greece. Last time I checked, I don't think there was anything. Not that's in there. There's nothing insecure. Lamio, I don't think we can go to. They're also in debt. Don't really want to deal with that. AEK would be a fun one to get, but nothing's getting insecure. So we're kind of at that difficult spot of, I want to move on. Can we find a job? We know right now Hajduk Split is available, so we might just go back to Croatia and tick all of that off, but we'll just have to see what happens. And that's where we're at in the save. 2, I'm going to say successful seasons in Italy, although this second season has definitely been very frustrating and very demotivating. And I'm interested to know, any of the viewers that are watching this, when you get into your journeyman saves, have you ever had those moments where the momentum for you sort of starts to dwindle, or you start losing that enthusiasm to jump into a save? Obviously, I'm very interested in continuing on the Med because I think it's a fun concept, and I think if we can get into one of those other 3 leagues, we'll have a lot of fun there, and a chance of having success in other countries would be great. But yeah, I'm curious, what scenario has cropped up for you in your saves where this has happened, and how did you cope with it? What did you do to deal with it? That's going to be all from me though today. If you have enjoyed today's video, please make sure you drop me a like, drop a subscribe, leave a comment, all those usual things that you do over here. And if you want to come and hang out over on Twitch, please come over to twitch.tv/DeeBoiPlays, where we'll be doing some on the Node fun. And yeah, other than that, I will see you there. Look after yourselves. Laters!